My boyfriend of 8 years cheated with my best friend in my car. But when I discovered, my 7 friends knew and laughed at me. I destroyed her wedding in front of 100 guests and exposed them all. I'm 28 years old. I run the office supplies company that used to be my father's. And 2 years ago, I basically destroyed a wedding in front of like 100 people because I found out my boyfriend had been cheating on me with my best friend. And no, I don't regret it one bit, honestly. But for you to understand why I did what I did, I need to tell you the whole story from the beginning. Because this wasn't just any betrayal, it was like my entire life had been a lie, and I was the last one to find out. Sebastian and I started dating when we were 20. In college, we were part of this group of 7 friends. You know, one of those groups that form in the first years of college, and you swear they're going to be your friends forever. There were 4 guys and 3 girls, and we all got along super well. Or so I thought. Sebastian was sweet at first, attentive, made me feel special. We moved in together after 4 years of dating, when I was like 24, and honestly, I thought things were going well, but there was one issue that started driving me crazy over time: marriage. I wanted to get married, have kids eventually. You know, the normal things people want when they've been with someone for almost a decade. But Sebastian always gave me the runaround. That we were still young, that there was no rush, that why did we need a piece of paper if we already lived together? Every time I brought up the topic, he got uncomfortable or changed the conversation. I thought maybe he was afraid of commitment or that he needed more time, so I stopped pushing. Big mistake. My best friend back then was Gabrielle. We had been roommates in college, and we were basically inseparable. That girl was part of my daily life. We told each other everything. Or well, I told her everything. She knew how frustrated I was with Sebastian about the marriage thing. She knew I dreamed of having a family. She knew absolutely everything about my relationship. And the ironic thing is that she ended up being the first of all of us to get engaged. She met this guy, Maxwell, who was literally 60 years older than her. Yes, you read that right. 60 years. The guy was like 88 when she was 28. Gabrielle had always been a bit, I don't know how to say it, ambitious when it came to money. Maxwell's family was super wealthy. They had a well-known last name and all that. When she told us she was getting married, everyone in the group was like, okay, this is weird, but she said they had fallen in love and that age didn't matter. I wanted to believe her, because she was my best friend. So I swallowed my doubts and agreed to be part of her wedding. The wedding was going to be at a fancy hotel, one of those with huge ballrooms and the whole show. There was a rehearsal dinner the night before, but I couldn't go because I got hit with one of those horrible migraines I've suffered from for years. They're migraines that literally knock me out. I can't even open my eyes from how bad my head hurts. I told Sebastian to go without me, that I would take something and rest in the hotel room. He said no problem, to take care of myself, gave me a kiss on the forehead and left. How considerate, right? I went to bed around 7 in the evening and managed to sleep for a bit, but around 10 I woke up and the pain had gone down a little. I realized I didn't have any more migraine pills. So I decided to go down to the parking lot to see if I could find an open pharmacy nearby or something. I went down basically in pajamas, with a hoodie on top because it was cold, and walked toward my car that was in the hotel parking lot. And that's when I saw something that still, 2 years later, makes me feel that stab in my chest. When my car was like in a dark corner of the parking lot, and when I got closer, I saw there were 2 people inside. At first, I thought someone had broken into my car or something, but when I got closer and saw better, I almost fell from the shock. It was Sebastian, with Gabrielle, making out. And it wasn't an innocent little kiss. No. They were literally about to rip each other's clothes off right there in my car. His hands were everywhere. She had her legs wrapped around him. And I just stood there like an idiot, paralyzed, unable to process what I was seeing. I don't know how long I stood there watching. It was probably only a few seconds, but it felt like an eternity. My first instinct was to open the car door and yell at them, make a scene right there, but something in my head told me to wait. I don't know why. Maybe it was pure adrenaline or survival instinct, but I turned around and walked away from there without them seeing me. I went back to the hotel on autopilot, my heart beating 1,000 miles an hour, unable to breathe properly. I went up to our room and sat on the bed, shaking. I tried to process what I had just seen, but my brain couldn't. It was too much. My boyfriend of 8 years, my best friend, the night before her wedding, in my damn car. Around 11:30, Sebastian came to the room. He walked in all casual, smiling, and asked me how I was feeling, if the migraine had gotten better. I looked at him and had to make a superhuman effort not to jump on him and scream everything I had seen. But instead I smiled at him and told him yes, that I felt better, that I had taken some pills and slept. He lay down next to me and hugged me, gave me a kiss on the head, and I had to lie there next to him, feeling disgusted, feeling rage, but silent. I didn't sleep at all that night. I stayed awake staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything. About the last 8 years of my life, about all the times Gabrielle had been in our house, about all the times Sebastian had told me he loved me. And then I started wondering, how long had this been going on? Did the others know? Was I the only idiot who hadn't noticed? The next morning I got up early, around 7. Sebastian was still sleeping. I left the room and went to walk through the hotel hallways. I needed to clear my head, think about what I was going to do. I passed by one of the rooms where I knew some of our friends from the group were staying, Kimberly and 2 other guys. I think the door was ajar and I could hear voices inside, laughter. I approached quietly because I recognized Kimberly's voice and Sebastian's. Yes, Sebastian was there. And what I heard destroyed me even more than the parking lot thing. They were talking about me. Kimberly was making jokes about how I had no idea what was going on between Sebastian and Gabrielle, about how pathetic it was that I kept thinking Sebastian was going to marry me someday. One of the guys said something like, "Poor Penelope. So innocent," and they all laughed. Everyone. And then Sebastian spoke, and his voice sounded so different from how he talked to me. He said something like, "It's just that Penelope is very intense about the marriage thing. I just want to have fun. And Gabrielle understands me. She knows this is just for fun." Another one of the guys asked if he didn't feel bad about me, and Sebastian said, "She's fine. She has her company and all. It's not like I'm using her. I just don't want to commit yet." And they all kept laughing, making more comments about how obvious the situation was and how blind I was. I walked away from that door feeling worse than I had ever felt in my life. It wasn't just Sebastian and Gabrielle. It was the whole group. They all knew. They had all been laughing at me behind my back, probably for months, maybe years. They had watched me look like an idiot while they covered for the 2 traitors. And in that moment, something changed in me. I no longer felt just pain or sadness. I felt rage. A cold, calculating rage. And I decided I wasn't going to let them get away with it that easily. I went back to the room and Sebastian was already awake, getting ready for the wedding. He smiled at me when I came in and asked if I was ready for Gabrielle's big day. I smiled back and told him yes, that I was excited for her. I got ready, put on a nice dress, did my makeup, acted like nothing. All day before the ceremony, I was with the group, smiling, talking, acting like everything was perfect. Gabrielle hugged me and thanked me for being there for her on her special day. Sebastian held my hand during lunch. And I kept acting, because I had a plan. The ceremony was going to be in a big ballroom at the hotel, with chairs for about 100 guests. Maxwell's family was one of those big wealthy families, so there were a lot of important people there. The ceremony started at 4 in the afternoon. Gabrielle looked beautiful. I'm not going to lie. She had a super expensive wedding dress and the whole setup. Maxwell was standing at the altar waiting for her, with his cane and his elegant suit. When it came time for the readings and speeches, the coordinator asked if anyone wanted to say a few words for the couple. Several relatives spoke, said nice things about love and commitment and all that crap. And then I raised my hand. Sebastian looked at me, surprised. He knew I hadn't planned to give a speech because I'm terrible at public speaking. The coordinator gave me the microphone and I stood in front of everyone. Gabrielle was smiling at me from the altar, all happy, thinking I was going to say something emotional about our friendship. And then I spoke. I started by saying that I had known Gabrielle since college, that we had shared so many moments together, that she knew all my secrets, and I knew hers. I said I had always admired her ability to get what she wanted, no matter what. People laughed a little, thinking it was a compliment. And then I said, for example, she wanted financial security and found Maxwell, who offered her exactly that in exchange for an arranged marriage. But she also wanted fun, so she decided to keep sleeping with my boyfriend Sebastian, For the last— how many months was it, Gabrielle? 6? A year? The silence that fell over that room was deafening. You could hear a pin drop. Gabrielle turned pale, like white as a sheet. Sebastian got up from his chair, yelling my name. Maxwell turned around to look at Gabrielle with a face of absolute confusion. And I kept talking. I said that the whole wedding was a farce, that Gabrielle had proposed to Maxwell an open marriage where she got access to his money and he got a young wife to impress his family, but that apparently the deal didn't include her sleeping with my partner of 8 years in my own car the night before the ceremony. People started murmuring. Some got up. Gabrielle's mom yelled something I didn't understand. I looked at my group of friends, who were sitting together with faces of absolute panic, and I dedicated my last comment to them. I said I also wanted to thank our wonderful group of friends for being so loyal, for covering up this affair and laughing at me behind my back, while I kept trusting all of you like we were family. I left the microphone on a chair and started walking toward the exit. The chaos that broke out was epic. Maxwell yelled something at Gabrielle. She started crying and saying it wasn't true, but her face said it all. Sebastian tried to follow me, but one of Maxwell's groomsmen grabbed him by the arm. The coordinator tried to calm people down. Gabrielle's family was screaming. And Maxwell, that 8-year-old man, simply grabbed his cane, looked at Gabrielle with contempt, and walked away from the altar without saying a word. He left the room and was gone, literally left her standing there. I never imagined that an elderly man with a cane could make such a dramatic exit, but he pulled it off. I left there, went up to my room, grabbed my suitcases that I had already packed that morning. Yes, I already had everything ready because I knew this was going to explode, and left the hotel. I drove back to my house, which technically was our house, but at that moment I just wanted it to be mine again. I got there, sat on the couch, and finally allowed myself to cry. I cried for hours, like those ugly cries where you can't breathe and your chest hurts. I cried for the 8 years I had lost, for the friendship I thought I had, for being so blind. The next day, Sebastian started calling me and sending me messages. I didn't answer any of them, until finally he sent me a long message saying that I had destroyed Gabrielle's life, that how could I be so cruel, that she had lost her chance to have financial security because of me, and that absolute lack of responsibility, that not acknowledging what they had done to me, was what finished breaking any feelings I had left for him. I sent him a message telling him he had a week to get his stuff out of my house, that I was going to leave everything in boxes in the garage, and that after that I didn't want to know anything more about him. I blocked everyone from the group except Sebastian, because I needed to coordinate about his stuff. 9 days later, on a Saturday, Sebastian rang the doorbell. I opened the door, and there he was, looking like he hadn't slept well. His stuff was in the garage in boxes, just like I had told him. But before letting him in, he tried to talk to me, tried to justify himself. He said that our thing had become boring, that I only thought about getting married and having kids and that he felt pressured, that Gabrielle understood him better. And then, this left me frozen. He told me that technically I was also to blame, because if I had been more relaxed about the marriage thing, he wouldn't have sought attention elsewhere. I don't know what face I made, but it must have been terrifying because Sebastian took a step back. I told him to get out of my house, to grab his crap from the garage and leave, and that if he wasn't gone in the next 5 minutes, I was going to call the police. He left. Loaded his boxes into his car with the help of a friend he had brought, and left. As soon as I closed the door, I blocked him from everything. Phone, social media, email, everything. I deleted his number, deleted all our photos together, packed up anything that reminded me of him, and donated it. I needed to erase him from my life completely. The following months were difficult. I'm not going to lie. There were days when I woke up and forgot for a second that I wasn't with Sebastian anymore, and then I remembered everything and felt horrible again. I went to therapy, which helped a ton. My therapist told me that what I was feeling was normal, that I had lost not just a relationship but a whole network of friendships, and that the grief over that was real and valid. I started writing in a journal every day, processing everything that had happened. I joined the gym because I needed to channel all that energy somehow, and it ended up being the best thing I could have done. Exercise helped me clear my mind and feel better physically, stronger. My dad's company kept me busy, which was good because I didn't have time to stay home feeling sorry for myself. I focused on expanding the business, on making new contacts, on being better at my job. My family was incredible through all this. My mom called me every day to see how I was. My dad took me to breakfast on Sundays. My siblings came to visit me and forced me to leave the house even when I didn't want to. They never judged me for what I did at the wedding. On the contrary, my older brother told me he wished he had had the courage to do something like that when his ex had cheated on him. Fast forward to 2 years later, meaning now. My life is completely different and honestly better than it was before. The company is growing a lot. We hired more people and opened a new branch. I still go to the gym 5 times a week and even ran a half marathon last year, something I never thought I would do. I have new friends, people I met at work and at the gym, people who really value and respect me. I recovered hobbies I had abandoned during all my relationship with Sebastian. I started painting again and reading more. As for Sebastian and Gabrielle, I found out by chance a few months ago what happened to them. A mutual acquaintance, who wasn't part of the original group, told me. Turns out that after the wedding thing, Gabrielle was basically ruined. Maxwell obviously canceled everything. She lost her chance to marry money, and her reputation was destroyed. Sebastian, the gentleman that he is, decided to stay with her. They moved in together and got married a year later. But the thing is that neither of them really had money, so their relationship became super toxic because it was no longer the exciting affair it had been when they were cheating on me. It was real life, with bills to pay and responsibilities. They got divorced after a year of marriage, and when they told me this, I didn't feel the satisfaction I thought I would feel. Rather, I felt like, I don't know, a mix of relief that it wasn't my problem anymore and some sadness about how pathetic their lives turned out to be. From our original group of friends, I never spoke to any of them again. Some tried to contact me the first few months after the wedding, sending me apology messages, but it was too late. The trust was broken, and there was no way to repair it. I blocked them all and moved on. And well, about 6 months ago, I started dating someone new. His name is Daniel, and I met him at a business conference. He's an accountant, has his own firm, and is completely different from Sebastian. Daniel is mature, responsible, and most importantly, honest. We talk openly about what we want in life. About marriage, about kids, about everything. And it turns out he also wants those things. That he's not afraid of commitment. That he sees a relationship as a team where both work together toward the same goals. It's refreshing to be with someone who doesn't make me feel crazy for wanting a stable future. Last week, we were having dinner at my house, and Daniel asked me about my previous relationship because I had never told him the whole story, just that it had ended badly. I told him everything, about Sebastian, about Gabrielle, about the wedding, everything. I expected him to get scared or think I was crazy for having made that public scene, but instead he thought for a moment and then said, "They had it coming." Sometimes people need to face the consequences of their actions. And something in the way he said it, without judging me, made me realize that I'm finally with someone who understands me. I don't know if Daniel is my person forever. It's still early to know, but for the first time in a long time, I feel hope about the future. I feel like I got control of my life back, that I'm no longer that version of me who was willing to settle for less than I deserved just to not be alone. And although everything that happened was painful and horrible, I guess I needed to go through that to learn to value myself more, to understand that sometimes the worst betrayals end up being the best things that can happen to you because they force you to rebuild yourself stronger. Do I regret ruining that wedding? No, not at all. Gabrielle ruined her own wedding when she decided to sleep with my boyfriend. Sebastian ruined 8 years of relationship when he chose to cheat on me instead of simply breaking up with me if he didn't want to be together anymore. And that group of supposed friends ruined years of friendship when they decided to laugh at me instead of telling me the truth. I just made sure everyone knew exactly who they really were. And honestly, I think I did them a favor. Now they can live their lives without having to pretend, without having to hide, just being the horrible people they always were. And I can live mine, knowing I'm no longer surrounded by people like that.